Hello Duelist, it's Tombox here, welcome to MST.TV, and in this video we're going to be talking about competitive deck options for February 2018. And in February, of course, we recently just got our ban list. We also have the release of Extreme Force. You know, what better time to actually explore with new decks? Now, this particular video, I just want to elaborate on the point that competitive, quotes, basically means that these decks have high potential. I've tried these decks out myself, and they've proven to be pretty strong. They have strong combos, and they can hold their own. And at the very least, if they don't make it into the meta, they're at least rogue, so that you can actually play it in a competitive sense. You know, so that definition is now cleared up. But, you know, what makes it so that I want to actually talk about these decks? Well, in particular, Maxi got banned. That's actually a huge point I want to make. And for those of you who have been paying attention to Ash Blossom, yeah, she's about like what, near $100 now. She's near 90 right now, and she's getting close to $100 right now. Just so you guys know. So hand traps are still a thing, and Thunder King's now at 3, Mind Control's at 3, Monster Reborn's back, and all those things, they all kind of tally up together into making these decks actually a bit more powerful. And a lot of it is actually thanks to Maxi being banned. Some of these decks are much better at eating up hand traps than others, but they can't exactly eat a Maxi. Now, just a heads up, for the upcoming list, I actually focused more on trying new things and perhaps revitalizing old decks just so that they have newer playstyles, you know, stuff in the like. So just a heads up for you guys. Without further ado, I'll talk about these decks right now, and I'll also give an honorable mention for several of these other decks I still believe have potential, and who knows, maybe they'll actually make a huge comeback. Now, for the very first deck that I want to talk about and quickly summarize, it's going to be Oddeyes Mythical Beast. This deck, I thought it was a bit of a joke at first, but then when I watched people play it, I played it against them myself and played with it, I realized it is quite a strong contender that is able to build some of the strongest boards so far from what I've seen. By building boards, I mean the old Pepe style of build a board full of negations so your opponent cannot play. It's a suppressive board building a deck that basically OTKs your opponent the turn after, because most of these monsters do carry big bodies of 2400 attack or more, just say that. Now, some of the boards that it is able to build include a Decode Talker for targeting negation. We have Oddeyes Vortex Dragon for all-round negation, combined with perhaps one or two of the Jackal. Now, that is some of the more ideal boards. I'm not saying that everyone's going to build like that. I've had a board where it's just triple Jackal, but then I was playing against a Trickstar deck. They can't activate any monster effects, so they died anyway. I was playing Trickstar against this deck, and by all means, this is one of the hardest matchups to play, thanks to the fact that Jackal is a bigger monster than most of the Trickstars, and I need to activate spells, and every single time I activate one spell, he gets one negation because he can remove 2, as Jackal generates two spell counters to deal with me. It gets really annoying and very frustrating very quickly. Now, how do they actually build up their board? Well, they basically use Master Cerberus to summon out Master Cerberus. Well, the moment you put it on the pendulum scales, you pop it, get a Jackal, Jackal brings it back out of the extra deck. And that's not a pendulum summon, so that's just a free summon right there, and they usually go into Electromite. Electromite gets the Astrograph Sorcerer, and if you don't already have your Pendulum Arc Dragon, basically you go to a performable Oddeyes Dissolver, which acts as your fusion summon spell. And, you know, long story short, that's the board that you build and you oppress your opponent. Yeah, it's actually very easy, and the deck is able to eat multiple Ash Blossom Joyous Springs. Well, you can only eat one per turn anyway, but it is able to eat it, and it's fine. It can keep on comboing. It's just that there's the sheer amount of draw power and search power in this deck makes it very difficult to Ash, and timing the Ash is impossible because you don't know what else is in their hand. However, it does carry one weakness during the combo, is that they always go into Electromite, and if you actually get greedy and go into Electromite at the wrong time, you're going to get punished because they're going to pop your Electromite right away. That's the right timing, because the last thing they want is for your Electromite to actually pop a scale to add back the Astrograph that you just shoved over there, and because that will trigger the Astrograph, and basically it's going to be a whole slur or slew of a bunch of monsters being searched out and drawn onto the other guy. So there's a ton of advantage if they get that play off. So that's why that deck is actually very fun. Definitely try it out. You go check out I think Duel Entertainment probably has a very good video on actually how to pilot that deck, so go check it out. Number 2 is actually my personal favorite. It's going to be Invoked Mekk-Knights. If you've seen my previous video, I played pure Mekk-Knights, and well, with the ban list, that's no longer possible, so that's unfortunate. Played the triple Saryuja, dig the perfect hand build, and then suppress your opponent's board. If you guys don't know what Mekk-Knights do, quick summary. If there's 2 or more cards in the same column, special summon from your hand onto the column, and there's a lot of searching effects. And basically, depending on the spell and trap you have in the back row, if your Mekk-Knight matches the same column as the thing that it can negate, it will negate it. And that's why shifting columns is such an important mechanic in that deck. Now, since the whole deck is actually special summon based, you don't really care for normal summoning, and thanks to the recent hit, you still need the ability to go first. So the best line of action was to put in the Invoked engine. And since the entire deck is made up of the light attribute, it gives you access to Mekk-Knights very quickly, very easily too. And there's even support from the Mekk-Knight side to revive Mekk-Knights through the use of World Legacy Secrets, as it can revive any level 5 or higher monster out of the graveyard. And it also acts as monster effect suppression, so on resolution it would actually negate something that's on the same column as a Mekk-Knight monster. So with all that combined, you use the Mekk-Knights to negate spells, because the spell card, let's just say the spell negation card, is actually not very good for the Mekk-Knight side, so you can use Mekk-Knights and the spellbook engine plus the Invoked engine to deal with the spell negation, and then you use the Mekk-Knight monsters to deal with all the monster negation. So overall, what kind of playstyle is this deck? It is, well, I guess it's a control-based deck that also kind of supports a ton of aggro, because most of these monsters are quite big. And they don't mind getting skill drained because they get a lot of free summons and they have a lot of big bodies. And so if you guys have a leftover Invoked engine that you failed to sell off, well, give this deck a try, because it is actually quite fun to actually play this deck. Number 3, we have the survivor of the ban list, Trickstars. Trickstars, if you still have them, good for you. Most of your stuff, the price went up because you weren't touched by the ban list at all. You did lose Grinder Golems if you played the more aggressive variant that used the Firewall OTK, but by all means, if you have Trickstars, keep playing him. I don't see anything wrong with playing the deck. The deck is a grind-based control deck, slowly chipping away at your life points and removing all big threats. It's not exactly an OTK based deck, but it does have the Firewall, Lily Bell, Licorice OTK. If you do get caught in that, you will die very easily, and if you can't stop it, well, it's just too bad. Now this deck can, well, basically do everything. It has links available through Scapegoats and revival from the graveyard through Reincarnation. Reincarnation can also rip apart your hand, and they also have the Draw Lock combo to actually won't lock you out. And Draw Lock, I still think it's a very viable card, even in the upcoming form, because of the sheer amount of searching from the decks available right now. Long story short, this deck is still, I guess, considered the standard, whether or not your deck can be viable or not, because it is the surviving meta deck from the previous format. And number 4, for those of you guys who love anti-meta, congratulations, you guys get an anti-meta deck to play this format. It is Lightbeat anti-meta. Thanks to the release of Inspect Border and, you know, the release out of the ban list of Thunder King. Thunder King's now at 3. Of course, it wasn't really on the ban list, it was just at 2. But now at 3, it's consistent. It's not a sack card anymore, so don't expect to get your searches off very easily. Trickstar players are definitely not enjoying with the Thunder King release. And the Inspect Border is also very stunning to, well, any deck really. If you open with that card, let's just say the game is not going to be in your favor, especially if you're playing against it, because it's very difficult to break a monster with 2k without using any form of monster effects. You need to use big removals like your Raigekis. Perhaps you can Mind Control and then link it off. That is why Mind Control is available. Seriously, Mind Control that thing and get rid of it, because it's very difficult to play around this card. And this card, well, having a 2k body, think about what can actually run it over or destroy it. Spirals can't do it, and the reason why we didn't have anti-meta for so long is just because most of our monsters were so strong by base. Anti-meta needs that so that your combo pieces were weak and you can't access your combo. Whereas since he's actually stronger than your combo pieces, now you can't get over it. Like Spiral Tough would normally just pop out the problem card, but you can't even activate Spiral Tough thanks to the fact that you don't control a different monster card type. You need like pendulums, your rituals, your links, your fusions, your synchros, your exceeds. Without those, you have no monster effect activation. And that actually makes Mirror Force, a regular Mirror Force, very devastating. Because nothing's going to activate in the grave anyway, so who cares? You just wipe the board for free with a cheap little Mirror Force. Anyways, that's just like overgeneralizing the deck, but let me tell you, if they establish control, you'll be dead within 2 to 3 turns, because the sheer amount of stats will kill you. Not to mention that the deck will actually start to snowball with more and more locks. It's like one padlock and then put on another padlock and then chain them together, put another padlock, Inspect Border, Fossil Dyna, a Banisher, and then basically it's no fun zone all over again. And number 5, we have a combo control deck. We have Supreme King Draco Pal 2.0. Wow, why are you playing Draco Pals? You lost Skullcrobat. Well, the deck is still very much playable. I was playing a 44 card deck. Now I'll just take out all my Skullcrobats, and I actually still have to change up the engine because it's a little bit lacklustery, but the deck is built on drawing about 10 cards out of the deck, digging out most of the counter traps, and establishing a board where your opponent can't break it. Yeah, it sounds kind of cancery. I know it sounds a little cancery, but it is one of those decks. One of the biggest weaknesses of this deck is that Ogre hurts a lot, Ash not so much, which is why I don't mind it too much, because you only really need about 3 cards to combo, and all these cards are basically fetchable thanks to Duelist Alliance. The deck does run the Pendulum Draco Slayer engine, and guess what? They carry the Pendulum name. Because they carry the Pendulum name, they are now searchable out of the deck, and you have 2 Lusters. Remember how Luster was at 1 for a very long time for a good reason? Because that comboed with Pensork basically just went ape. Whatever. You guys get the idea. Well, now we have that plus the 3 Wavering Eyes, so you guys can do the math of how you can actually dig stuff out. But one addition to the entire deck is that we have Astrograph Sorcerer, and the entire deck is based off of popping, which means Astrograph Sorcerer has a ton of targets to actually dig out of the deck, and also runs the Pot of Greed combo, the Guitar Turtle, plus the Lizard Draw. You're going to be drawing a ton of cards. Electromite will give you a 1 draw and a search. Astrograph will give you another fetch. The combo will give you a 2-card draw, and the Performapole Sorcerer is going to give you a 2-card search. So overall, you can thin your deck out very quickly. In combination with Ariadne as a part of the stuff that's being destroyed, you're fetching about 6-7 cards per turn, and you're gonna have counter traps. And Ashes are a must in the deck because you can negate everything and then summon a big board. And you don't really even need to use your normal summon to do anything. Now, the deck also runs the Supreme King Dark Worm so that you can throw it into the graveyard through Dragon Shrine, Foolish Barrel, whatever means you need to do. Throw it into the grave, get yourself more scales, free cards, and just spam the board. And just control the board through counter traps and hand traps. I'm thinking that this deck is actually more of a rogue deck because there are ways to actually break this deck. But if they do go into the links, then you're in a bit of trouble because when they go into the heavy metal Electrum, let's just say they're going to go into a Decode Talker to protect that back row that you're kind of forced to give them. But overall, these are the 5 decks that I recommend you guys trying if you guys want a fresh taste of Yu-Gi-Oh! And a competitive deck that's playable at your locals at the very least. These are the 5 decks that I recommend right now. For honorable mentions right now, let's just say FAs. I hope that you guys can actually do very well. It seems like you guys are a very good deck, but it will require a very dedicated pilot to even try them out because they're all common, and usually all common decks, they don't exactly get enough love. Another deck would be Vendrids. You do have the Shockmaster, but it doesn't seem like your deck is too strong at the moment. There seems to be enough room to counterplay it at the moment, but I can see that you do have a lot of potential. And for you guys who are playing Altergeist, make sure you hold on to your cards for the next set coming because, well, you're going to get Multi-Faker. And once you get Multi-Faker, your deck is tier 1 easily due to the fact that the whole deck is actually missing the ability to tether a monster out. Guess what? Multi-Faker is a special summon tour guide that is kind of ridiculous because they have a Compulse monster, which makes Kaijus easy bait because they can throw you a Kaiju and take it back. Let's just say that deck is full of negations, full of Kaijus, and they're just going to chip away at your life until you die. So if you're holding on to those cards, please just don't get rid of those cards. And don't get rid of your Trickstars either if it doesn't feel very good because you are also getting support in the upcoming set in the Flames of Destruction. Just a heads up to you guys. Kind of don't know why I threw that in there. And oh, another deck to actually shout out, ABCs, didn't get touched by the ban list. You did lose your Gofu, but it doesn't really matter. You're still a very much playable deck, and the one deck that was really killing you is kind of, you know, in the down low. Now Spirals, still playable. Change up the playstyle if you really want to keep on grinding with Spirals, because let's be honest here. If anyone gets out that sleeper and equips it, you're in a very bad spot already. You gotta learn how to break that board, so it's gonna be a very tough time for you guys. Anyways, until next time, if you guys enjoyed this video, hit me up with a thumbs up. If you guys want to see more stuff from MST.TV, can't even say my own channel name right. If you guys want to see more stuff from MST.TV, like deck profiles of some of these decks I've mentioned, subscribe to MST.TV, and I really appreciate every single one of you guys. And as always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please drop us a like so we know we are doing a good job, and you can also subscribe to MST.TV for more fantastic videos by clicking on the button on the left. Don't forget to check out our partners at Imperium Duelist. They make really high quality mats, including some of my own limited edition release stuff. And if you want to check out one of our past videos, click here on the right. As always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV, and I'll see you next time.